I love it. That is a fantastic introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, listeners, I'm so excited to have on the show Peter Beasley. Welcome to the show, Mr. Beasley.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks, Richie.
I'm so excited to have you here. So we had some technical difficulties. We worked them out and figured it out. Yeah, just great to have you on the show. The first sort of question that we ask is sort of a cosmic question. Is like, how did you get here? What happened up to your life to this point that brought you here? Tell us about yourself.
That brought me here in COVID in 2021 from being born, huh?
Yep.
How much
Just
time do we have?
like 2 minutes. A good solid 2.
2 minutes.
Yeah, only 15 slides on this presentation, Dad.
Only 15.
That's an inside joke. That's an inside joke.
He let me in on that. That's great.
Yeah.
Let me in on that.
I don't know. Yeah, I've been blessed. I've had this wonderful opportunity. We get, I don't know, 90 years on the planet, 100 in a good day. You know, a lot of people get 20 and 40 and 60 and whatever. So my little run, and you don't get to pick where you were born, and you don't get to pick your parents. So I got born in America. I got 2 wonderful parents, a loving father and a loving mother, and stable family. Lived in Alaska, Sacramento, California, London, England. Went to high school in San Antonio, Texas. Was in the Boy Scouts until I went to college. Went to UT Austin, electrical engineering. Came out of college at a time that was great. Post affirmative action, not really still in it, but I had 8 job offers in my field, which, you know, it's hard to get a job in your field. And I had 8 job offers in my field, so I could pick what I wanted to do. Worked for an oil company, Mobil Oil, and the reason I picked working with them is because it offered this one work lifestyle of working on a ship for 2 months, 2 months on, 1 month off, 2 months on, 1 month off. So in my early 20s, I got to travel the world. My first trip was to Athens, Greece, and got off in Aberdeen, Scotland, got back on in Southampton, England, got off in Cameroon, got on in Sierra Leone. So I've been all over Africa, Far East Asia. Did that for 3.5 years, came off the ship, moved to Dallas, got married, had a wonderful young baby boy, you know, so had a son, had the proverbial divorce of 7 years in divorce court. That's a whole nother story that helped bring me to where I am. It built some things in me that I didn't know I had. And then still electrical engineer, kind of morphed into IT. Been in IT for 20-some plus years, 30-something plus years now probably. But was always a manager. I was never an engineer or developer or cybersecurity person. I was always a supervisor, manager, director, CTO. So I've always managed technology and managed those people. But this funny thing started happening as time went on. It's called getting older. And as I moved up, there were fewer seats at the top for people that looked like me or people that were, you know, let's say smart. How about that? Or unconnected. Or, you know, for whatever reason, when the music stopped, I didn't have a seat again, had to get another job. The little gaps between jobs started getting longer. So I finally figured out, well, it's not me, it's them. So how about if I start my own company? And if I have to fire me here, then it's me. So in 2003, I started a software company. Some kind of way I ended up firing everybody there. Didn't quite, that's not quite true, but almost. But so I still have my software company, Netwatch Solutions. So that's the whole gamut of venture funding, going from 0 people, no product, no revenue, no nothing, to finally you have a prototype, to you have a beta customer, to a real customer, to a part-time employee, to a real employee, to a ex-employee, to a hated employee, to a loved employee, to 2 loved employees. Okay, we're getting somewhere. To 3 customers, to all that kind of stuff. Then you get sued, then you have to sue somebody. It's just, you're in business. So you do all of that, did that, been doing that. But lately, kind of found myself leading, actually now 2 nonprofits. I lead Blacks United in Leading Technology. It's a nonprofit, international nonprofit, We have 8,200 members internationally. I lead the North Texas chapter too, which is 2,400 people, which is Dallas centric. We help people get into tech, training, social justice. We take sponsor dollars from corporations, and it's great timing. Great, God's blessed me to be at the right place at the right time. Now I've had some, not being at the right place at the wrong time. I've been carjacked at gunpoint, and all kind of life experience. I've had a wonderful full life. God's good.
Yeah, all the time.
Was that 2
Yeah.
minutes?
All the time. No, that's great. That's great. That's fantastic. Well, and this is a first nerd question. Chris told me that you created CMDB before CMDB was a thing. Is that true?
Ooh. Do you know what CMDB
I
is?
do. I'm ITIL Certified Foundation and Intermediate Release Control Validation. Yeah.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, this show just got really nerdy.
Woo.
So
let me test you on this other thing. So ITIL. So there's a professional organization called ITSMF USA, IT Service Management Forum USA.
No, I'm not.
I am the president of that too.
Okay.
So there's an international chapter, and then there's a USA chapter. So it is for ITIL people.
Nice.
That know what that is, and that's correct. I didn't know what a CMDB was. Nobody did.
Sure.
I kind of had the idea in '99.
Oh, wow.
And said, this is going to be important, knowing what all your stuff is and how it's all interconnected. And we bolted in change management pretty early on before I was already a change management bigot. I can remember when I hated change management,
Sure.
and then I became the boss over some people that they would just change stuff during the middle of the day. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And then I became the bigot around change management. And so I love change management. We bolted that into the product, incident management, problem.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Before, and then we figured out what a CMDB was.
That's great. That's fantastic. I'm a change analyst. I've been change, whatever those roles, change manager, change analyst, for a while now, and I really enjoy service management. So that's the kind of thing in IT I can get excited about. No longer the tech stuff, like figuring out servers or network switches or DNS this and subnet that. I can't, what OS. I don't care about any of that. But give me a good process, and that's really fantastic. I just had to nerd out a little bit before.
Yeah. That's all the nerding we have for the show.
Okay, we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna exchange email.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Dad, one thing we always just want to know. So you gave us a good rundown of your life and who you are. So I'm curious, as you've gone through this experience, what labels do you identify as?
That's such an open question.
Mm-hmm.
And my initial answer, and I'm a little bit of a contrarian thinker, and I kind of look at stuff critically, a little engineer in me, black and white, on and off, ones and zeros. I do that well. Purples, grays, chartreuse, I start to struggle. And so my first response is, I don't label myself. I don't do that. I don't choose to live my life under a label or try to make it fit under what you think a label is or what the world says labels should be. I am who I am. I am how I are. And so I've the labels and what's in vogue comes and goes. And, the DSM-5 book, whatever that book is of personality disorders, they add stuff to that. So, we're all going to be in there one day. So,
Yeah.
Whatever label it is today, it'll change. And so I would almost say I'm label agnostic. I'm sure I fit into whatever some of you think the right or wrong labels are. And if you threw some out, like, yeah, that's probably me. And okay, that one's me too. But I don't try to characterize myself. I do believe I am an INTJ. So I did do the Myers-Briggs thing. I think I've taken enough time that kind of fits me, but I don't, walk around, hey, I'm an INTJ. What are you? You're in the wrong bucket. We're all who we are. We're all made on purpose by the good Lord. And but, I do know my son is big into, labels, and and different genres of how you can slice people up and work with that. I probably should be better at that. I am too focused on nerdy stuff and the project and the connector that works right, or the patent, and oh, feelings, huh? Or why are we, it's just all these things catch me off guard because I don't focus on that. I don't worry about it. Live right, do good. Generally, that'll work out. There's the haters out there and the people that, people can't figure me out. So that could be a label, misunderstood.
Yeah.
Because I don't try to fit in a box. I can even remember Chris explaining on Facebook, you have to present a certain way. You have to show that you're making it, and nobody puts generally, all the truth out there, or things that aren't going well. It's true though. And so not that I'm a Facebook person, but I'm too transparent often. I'm too open sometimes.
Sure.
That's your label. I'm too open.
Well, that's really interesting. And the more and more that I met you now for maybe 15 minutes, and the more and more Chris told me, we talked about a half an hour show, just kind of talking about what we want to talk about. We have a lot of similarities. That's really, really interesting to me. So, what do you do with all those labels? It sounds like that doesn't really fit me. How do you respond to a culture that's full of these labels? Yeah.
Kind of just cut through it and not get bogged down with it. It's not my baggage. I can remember early on in my professional career, so being Black and in a fairly white dominated tech field, if not professional upper level jobs. Again, I'm on a ship off the coast of Africa, and there are 3 Black people on a ship of 40 people, and I'm the lead electrical engineer. I'm like 3rd in charge. I'm very high up on that ship in that little bubble. And another Black employee in Dallas, he told me I was perfect. You're perfect, Peter. You don't even recognize all of the shit that people do to us and you, and the little slights. In fact, the lady recently told me, so I'm flipping stories. I was venture funding 6-8 years ago in front of a billionaire, and one of the questions he asked me were my grandparents slaves? And this is 29 or somewhere in there. It's like, huh? And I'm sitting there doing the math of trying to figure out, okay, when did slavery end? And I couldn't figure it out. I actually did not know the answer. So I said, I don't think so. Then he said, do you think your great-grandparents were slaves? And I says, I don't know. My grandparents, I said, I know they were. I did know that one. And then he asked my great-grandparents. I said, I don't know. Let me do the math. I said, but somebody was. I'm sure somebody was. I don't get it. And so this lady's just telling me 3 weeks ago, that was a microaggression. Like, it was a what? Okay, there's a label. All I was confused. All I know is you got confused the F up. Like, I don't get why you're asking me this. What about my product, my patents, and my customers? And so back in my earlier career, this guy was telling me, you're perfect because you don't see these things. And so I just sailed straight on up into, management, because I didn't bog with what somebody said and why did they say it and what do they mean by it. I was just like, I don't get it. That was stupid. Like, he's a billionaire. He's an idiot. And I just, kept on moving on. However, I have learned a better answer.
Good.
Hell yeah, I'm still a slave.
There we go, Dad. Now you're learning.
I probably would have got funded. They didn't fund me. Like, hell yeah, I'm a slave. I'm a slave too. But.
Well, and now we do know Anthony Beasley, your great grandfather, actually fought in the Civil War. it is beneficial to know these things. Maybe some rich white dude's gonna give you a bunch of money for it, but that's not how you want to earn it. You wanted to earn it for your product, for your patent. But
Sure.
it's this weird dichotomy that you have to balance both, right? It's like people see you as this label, even though you don't even notice it. But it is a superpower also to ignore it, because how many people do get bogged down with the label and with the microaggressions, which, if we're being honest, the first word tells you how big the aggression is. Or like the prefix of microaggression tells you it's not the biggest thing in the world, right? You can push past a microaggression. And Dad, you're a perfect example of someone that did not get held back by them. And so I think that's should be celebrated, even though you might have missed out on some money. But
Well, I missed out on a lot of things, I'm sure, but I hate to tell you, I'm not even going to remember that there is a first word too. I'm like, okay, whatever he said. Somebody said something about you can analyze what they said and how powerful. I'm not going to remember that after, a minute after this call, unfortunately.
yeah,
I don't I don't focus on that. And I do, it does hurt me because you can react to some of those things better.
hmm,
And I just kind of try to rely on technical prowess or ethics or morality and a lot of these other things that in some cases, you know, that's, finessing the other party or
mm,
outwitting them or, you know, carving, putting them in a position where they can't do X to you is
yeah.
much more important than the better mousetrap, you know. So I'm sure it has affected me, but I think the opposite is true, or I've gotten past a lot of things not worrying about
Hmm.
We were talking about labels and sort of the pushing through, you know, uh, just not even paying attention. Like that's not even a part of how
Ignoring.
you think, you know. Um, yeah. Um, so, Mr. Beasley, it's really interesting to me because it sounds like I wonder if more people think that way. I wonder if there's more people like that. That would get, like, say if they were white, for instance, and just didn't pay, like, it just didn't come into their brain to talk about these things or about these labels. If they would come across a particular way, and I don't know. I mean, do you think that's part of what we're seeing with, and kind of what's happening socially all over the country?
about people not having labels or seeing labels.
Yeah, yeah, and then kind of being confronted, well, like, you're not paying, whatever, white person being called a racist or whatever else, and because they're maybe not paying attention to the language that's out there, or microaggressions or things like that. They don't even, they just kind of similar to what you're talking about.
I think it's the opposite, that people
Mm,
are overly focused on that, and so
okay.
they're looking to put you in a box and call you a
Mm-hmm.
racist or say
Mm,
you are this or that when somebody just misspoke or had a
yeah.
brain fart at that moment. I don't know. And
Right.
so people can be unfairly put in boxes that they don't
Sure.
need to be in or didn't intend to be in or growing past or can get through.
Yeah.
But other people know for sure, you are that. And we know
Mm,
you're that because this looks like that and that's what you did. So that's what you are. I know that's what those labels are and that's what you just did. So you are there for that. And I
yeah.
think that's more of what we have and why there are more problems because people do label each other and they have perceptions of what a label is and what a bigot is and what a racist is,
Yeah. For sure.
what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and so you get put somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's more of that, and there's not that many of us that try to just cut through that. Like, but what did you do to me? You haven't done anything to me. Why
Mm,
do I care what people say you are? I mean, you did grow up in the South or you did grow up in the Black community. That's probably true. But the way you have interacted with me is all cool. You have not done me wrong or dirty or
right.
slighted me. So you're fine by me. I don't need to just call you this just because of the color of your skin or where you grew up or
Mm-hmm.
dialect of your voice or your last name. So
Right.
that's what I would
Well.
say.
Okay.
So with your unique point of view around this. I'm curious, how have you interacted in Black spaces where these ideas are like pushed, where Black is a thing, and now you're a leader of a Black organization? How have you have you felt different? Have you felt slighted? What has your experience been just in those Black spaces?
Well, so I'll, first go back. It's not just in Black spaces, it's in spaces.
Okay.
So I grew up in a white environment, and it was all cool when I was a cute little sixth grader. But as you get bigger and, I don't know, people fighting for women or money or power or position or grades or something, I don't know, it becomes competitive at some point. And if you are succeeding over others, people want to hold you back and do things. And so it was probably my freshman year at college in UT is when I first noticed, oh, this race thing, there's something going on here. I might have noticed it my senior year in high school. That's when I first noticed some polarization. I was in San Antonio, so the Hispanics were over here, the Black people were over here, the white people are here. I could socialize in all of those groups, and I would say I was never a part of any, but I was allowed and permitted and in all of them, but never really completely embraced or comfortable. So that started earlier. And then when I got to UT Austin, there was this, no, you can't be over here. And I don't feel comfortable over here anymore. I mean, race jokes, my two friends are cool, but they got another friend, telling jokes. And, my two friends, one of them is laughing as hard as the guy that told it. And the other one's like, ooh, that wasn't cool. And I'm like, that wasn't cool at all. And so that started happening. So then I literally exempted myself from that culture and kind of moving more to Hispanic culture because I was more familiar with that from San Antonio. And after enough beers and La Raza night and like, why are you still here? Like, why haven't you left? It was cool earlier with you hanging out with us, but it's now time for you to go.
Wow.
And so, well, let me go over to the Black people, I guess. Let me hang out with that or them or that group. Same problem. You don't talk Black. You don't sound Black. You don't know all of the culture and the lingo. And I didn't.
Yeah. So
to your point, Chris, that was hurtful and hard. The others, I don't know. I don't know how much it hurt. It just seems stupid. It's like, but we're friends and we're cool, and that's not smart telling those kind of jokes. That's just not cool. It didn't really hurt. It wasn't, you're stupid. You're an idiot. You grew up poorly. You don't know. That's not cool, or it won't be cool one day. That didn't hurt me.
Yeah.
But being in the Black community and not being embraced, that hurt.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn how to be in this community. I mean, I'm firmly well into it. And then, though, even more to your point, that as I continue to rise above, lead, be in charge of, own, be published, have patents and, haters and, backstabbers and they're Black and, people I've helped and undermining. And I'm like, what? Literally, people I've hired and, made exceptions for and, did me dirty, So I have more of those experiences, with Black people than, that are more hurtful. Not to say, I'll say the systemic challenges of being Black in America, those, the phrase, I've been Black all my life. So, I can remember my son at Texas A&M telling me, 2 years afterwards, well, Dad, we went out one night with me and my friends and we went to the club or the bars across the street on campus and, well, I couldn't get in. They said my pants were too baggy. And you know what, Dad, I went back to the dorms and changed and I still couldn't get in. I'm like, yeah, happened to me too, 20 years earlier, 30, I mean, it's
Mm.
30 years apart, 20 years. Yeah. But
Wow.
that's happened all my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that you can expect
Grow callous.
you're callous. Yeah, I don't know if callous, I wouldn't say calloused. I can understand that a little bit better. It's not right. I'm not saying it's forgivable or it's right. It's just that's
part of life.
Part of life. But when somebody you hired or gave a break to or promoted or XYZ, and then they weren't loyal or they lied. Now that can be a girlfriend, or that's within any community.
Yeah, anybody.
Purple. But I've had more painful experiences there, I would say.
Mm.
Wow.
I find something interesting. You said that you had to learn how to be in the Black community, in the Black spaces a little bit. And I think one thing that people forget, and we've talked about this in other episodes, is how much learning, regardless of what you think you fit a label or not, how much it requires you to walk into a space with the knowledge that you need to learn something to be able to work in that space. So I'm curious, what are some things that you learned that improved your ability to be in those spaces? Because we have imperfect allies who might want to step in Black spaces, but they feel different, they feel other, and they haven't figured out how to learn what it's like to operate in those spaces. So what are some things that you might have learned?
What are some? Well, first I studied, so I had to read some books, and I didn't know there's discrimination within the Black community of light skin, dark skin, your hair color, where you were born, what tribe, what are you repping, and that's probably just the Bronx versus Brooklyn, so some of that's just normal stuff, but again, I didn't focus on any of that, so I just thought it was hilarious. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And it's true though. It's crazily true. It's sad to me that Black women, we're at the bottom of the totem pole. Like, who said that? Who y'all are beautiful. Who get that out of your head? But it's believed, and like, that's crazy. And then you have to finally, like, okay, I guess that's true. It's like, or you can't dispel that myth, or you can't talk this lady out of that because that's just ingrained. And it's like, so you have to understand that and not be flippant to it or misunderstand it.
That's a really good point.
I don't agree. I think Black women are the bomb, and all women are the bomb. I wouldn't put one over the other, but society does put Black people down, and can put Black women down, and on and on and on. So first is studying, and then I don't think it was intentional, but I have lived a life of openness, and so before I got married, before I met your mom, is your mom gonna listen? Yeah, let me think. So so I would have
his mom is a patron supporter, just to let you know.
That's true.
If you want
okay, well, listen up. That's my ex-wife.
That's
my
right.
ex-wife.
That's right.
So I would have parties at my house earlier on in life, and so I was in Ebony magazine some years ago, and again I had 7 Series BMW, and early on in life, I remember another guy. He's like, Bees, I got a 3 Series. I was gonna get a 5 and then a 7. You got a 7 first, like, dude, you got a house, you got all these things were no big deal to me, and I didn't covet on them or anything like that. But the thing that I started noticing was I needed to just accept the reality of where I was. And when I would have these parties, people would come over and they'd be shocked that there would be common people or I say common to
different tax brackets.
Different tax brackets.
Yeah,
Let me just
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
way to
There you go.
to people without jobs. You know, everybody
Mhm.
assumed they're all going to be at church and all, you know, at a certain economic level, and
You're open.
that is not me in
Yeah.
no kind of way. And so
Yeah.
I I'm not afraid of people like that. I mean, I can, you know, be afraid of, you know, some places, but I'm quite willing to interact with a lot of people at a lot of different levels in
That's
ways
true.
people wouldn't have expected me to be that way. Chris can even like, ooh, Dad, no, like it's Chris, it's okay.
I'd be like, Dad, you in places for like young, wild, like real ratchet hood spots. And he's like, no, this place is great. They got good music, good food, good people. Like, all right.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, it sounds like you're able to navigate that now better. I mean, is one thing you said that was really, I thought, poignant, is that when you started to enter black spaces and learn about, you know, what the culture was, or, you know, whatever those things that you talked about, that you said not to be flippant. And I think that's a big problem with the national discussion. Is there's like, if somebody says this is in my experience, or this is what I believe, people are flippant.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And I just admire that like you took it seriously, and you know, and I think that's where a lot of allies are landing, is like, you know, I don't necessarily agree with some of the things that this whatever this group is posits, but I do want to show some level of respect that you, and you know, that you believe that, and
Yeah.
that you operate from that place. That to me was just really poignant.
Well, poignant. Thank you, Richie. It was more of, you know, I learned to not show that and indifference that I did not intend.
Mm-hmm.
I was not indifferent.
Right.
It is mostly I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me, but it is completely their reality. Is how they feel, and so I would just like, okay, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
to whatever that was. Not that I am an indifferent. I don't understand, and it's that I don't operate in focusing on that.
Mm-hmm.
Elevated away from that, but that's where that person is, and that's what they believe, and that's how they feel. And I had to learn to respect that. Not that I disrespected. I don't think I was disrespect. I just don't see it.
It came off that way though. It came
off
off indifferent.
Majorly came off that way.
Oh. Okay.
I majorly get, as I said, misunderstood because I come off that way when I just don't operate that way. Let me be me. You know, how come I have to, you know, be attentive to you like that and how you are and where you are? And you say, what about me? I mean, I'm aloof. You be with me. How come I have to be all feely with you? I'm okay if you're not aloof. You can be in your feelings. That's okay. Get your feelings on, but don't be mad at me that I'm not all feely with you. I'm okay that you're not all strict, and you know you can be you. I let you be you, but I've learned it doesn't work the other way.
Yeah,
that's.
I think we've walked away with that.
Well, and that's the individual meeting the collective, right? And that's it.
Yeah.
And I think we all, I mean, I think that's a very human experience across whatever population, you know, we want to have a label for or whatever. Yeah. I mean, and that's what Chris and I are finding, is that the more and more that we talk to people, because we had a trans person say, I don't care what my pronouns were. And that to me blew my mind, because I've spent the last 3 years trying to figure out, you know, how to be respectful to trans people and their like I'm practicing and going, you know, trying to do all that stuff. And then you find an individual that's like, oh, I don't really care. You know,
So Richie, isn't that a lot of baggage that you're carrying around trying to figure out how to, you know, and again, this is one person who didn't care, and the others might care and some others don't, but you've been carrying around, you know, which pronouns to use, and you know, again, I don't carry a lot of those things.
Yeah.
Now I will get in trouble because I can say the wrong thing, the wrong person, you know, get punched or something. But the majority of the time, I am operating without that baggage. And so that's not holding me back, worrying about what I might say when I get in this situation.
Yeah.
And then when I'm in that situation, most likely what I said is fine, or that person will get over it, or they don't have a problem with it. You know, so I don't, because you could carry so many of those things worrying about what do you do in this situation, that situation, and that label, and, you know, is this or that. And while it can serve you well, if you get it right and it didn't take too many cycles away from your change management project or whatever else you were needing to do, then that was well invested. And I would just say, on balance, you can get further not worrying about all that. You will have those oddities, and they can be pretty you know, heartfelt to devastating to, you know, a setback. But the baggage that you're carrying all the time is more of a loss, my opinion.
No, and I appreciate that, and I hear that, and it's what's so, as I hear you, as I'm listening to you talk, because I don't know if you've heard the show, but Chris and I, part of my kind of journey is like Chris has said over and over, Richie, you do you. You be you. Like, it's okay that if you upset people, it's okay that, you know, and that lesson, I'm just seeing y'all's faces, and I'm just seeing the lesson pass from yours to his to mine. And I appreciate that. I think that's pretty astute. And it can be paralyzing. And how I'm dealing with that is trying to be, less manicured or less cultured, as far as like, not cultured, manicured probably is a better term. And not worry so much about what moving that locus of control of external to internal. It's hard though, because, you know, for me, one of my mechanisms for survival through childhood was self-blame, so it was all my fault. Everything was my fault. And that's how I survived, you know, alcoholic home and just all these different things. So I recognized that about 7-8 years ago, and have been slowly, I like myself now. I mean, I'm telling you guys, I'm my biggest fan, and that is a tremendous thing. At the same time, I think I still hold that skill set, you know, and operate in that skill set a lot. 'Cause I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want anybody to be hurt, instead of being like, presenting myself as my authentic self. And if I offend you, let's talk about it. If I upset you, let's talk about it. 'Cause that's not my intention.
Right.
And if it can't be talked about, you know, I don't know, we'll go from there. But that's more my speed now, versus trying to make sure everybody's okay. Yeah. And that for me was a survival skill, for sure. Absolutely.
Sure. You know, and I think it can depend on where you came from, and initially, you know, your home of childhood origin. You know, what did you get dealt? What cards did you get dealt? And so, I got a good set of cards. You know, a mother and father, and a financial father, stable, and so I'm coming from a place of some self-security. There were some insecurities too, but I don't have to cover up from, bigotry or molestations. There's a lot of things that I didn't have to worry about, and so it's easier for me to operate that way. And but yeah, that authentic self, I would say, just get older. It works itself out, and it's got to live long enough. And at some point, it's like, I don't care. And like you said, hopefully, let's talk it out. Well, sometimes they won't talk.
Right.
They won't talk. Well, don't own that they won't talk. Just be okay. Well, hey, it's fine. I'm fine, and you're fine, I guess, and I'm gonna just keep it moving, and not, insist on, well, we still need to talk and work through this, and be available. Certainly try, maybe, but if they won't, that's on them. And don't carry that one too. So
interesting. Wow.
Interesting.
I'm getting insights all over the place.
Let me start asking you some questions, Richie and Kristen.
Turn
this around.
Go for it.
Well, We're open. It's
Yeah.
it's free, open dialogue, authentic, vulnerable conversations is what we're all about here. As we feel like that's the best way to move our country forward. But I'm curious, just from the career standpoint of what you're doing at Built and these other organizations, what are some things that allies can do to help improve things that you're working on, like Built, and what are things that maybe our listeners could do to help?
Yeah. So built Blacks United in Leading Technology. So we have the mission to increase the representation and participation of Black people in tech. That means getting into the tech field, getting jobs, uh, getting hired in better positions than the lower level positions, getting promoted, getting certs, getting education, getting the plum projects, getting promotions. Then if you choose to start a company, getting venture funding, getting people to buy your products. That,
Wow.
racism exists when you start selling. It's like, they don't want to buy from you, or you can't get on the vendor list. So it's across the gamut of the tech field, just like American society. So that's our mission, and allies can help in many, many ways. So one, join. So 25%, I think I just did a statistic. It's a little less than 25%. I think it's 19 to 22% of Blacks United in Leading Technology are not Black. So you don't
Oh
have to
wow.
be Black to be in the
Oh,
group. And
wow.
so,
Okay, great.
we're on meetup.com, and every now and then you get, a white person like, who do you guys think you are? This last thing we need is, a Black group, Black, like, really, dude, get over it. It's just, there's Asian
Join.
groups, there's Latinx groups, it's like, whatever, there's transgender groups, like,
Jewish groups,
yeah, and there's
all kind
mixed
of groups.
people in it, and there's, stop that, and so you don't have to join. So that's one thing, join.
Join. Love
Um,
it.
and joining, mingle, get to know, I think a lot of what you all are doing and what the world needs to do is just talk to each other and be around each other and learn that many levels people have a lot of the same desires, have a life, be happy, your kids do well, a lot of things are, basically the same. And so,
Mm-hmm.
you just have these labels and these fears that, people may or may not be. So join and mingle and get to know, attend our groups, our events, serve in positions of leadership, join a committee. Of course, you can donate money, you can sponsor us, and so a lot of allies, corporations sponsor events. They speak at our meetings. They buy door prizes. They train us scholarships, so giving scholarship certifications to scholarships for membership. So some of our members can't afford $45 a year in dues. So some corporate sponsors will buy memberships for people that can't afford memberships. Some buy memberships for their Black employees. Some buy memberships for their employees. Whoever wants to join Built, their employer will pay for that. So we were just talking to one of those the other day. And so there's a lot of ways that allies can help. And starts often at the top. It doesn't have to be at the top, but it's great. And we're seeing more and more of that, of boards and CEOs and the C-suite with a definite commitment to make a change within their company or in their communities and even across society. So those are ways that those are specific. You can I can give you the phone number, I can give you the website and all that kind of stuff.
Plug away. Tell our listeners where to get in touch with you.
Our website is Built, B-U-I-L-T. That's in building something. International.com, builtinternational.com. And so we're there. We're on LinkedIn. Also, we have a LinkedIn group. We have some Facebook groups that aren't very well populated, but we're on Facebook. We're on meetup.com, meetup.com, the pro meetup.com platform is where we are. We have 24 chapters across the country and internationally. So there's that. The phone number, it's an 844-442-8458, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Or you can call me, which is 972-365-1170. I'm chairman of the board. I'm an executive director. organization too. So I'm overly employed. I work days, nights, weekends, all the time. So passionate is such a joy to help give back. I wish we were here when I was, coming up.
Yeah.
There was nothing like this for us, and the time is right. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
And just this Black History Month that has elapsed tomorrow or today.
Yeah, we're almost there. Yeah.
Yeah, but just seeing some of the shows and the history that was just painful. The blinding of. There was some young man. He'd served in World War I or II, and he was riding the bus home. And
Isaac Woodward.
Yes, sir. They beat him blind. He's in uniform even. I never even heard of it. All these things. Like I just recently heard of, in the last 7 years, Black Wall Street in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
I'm in Dallas. That's
Tulsa.
like close.
Outside of Tulsa. Yeah.
Tulsa.
The only reason I know that is because my grandfather lived in Tulsa at that time. He was a little boy.
Wow.
Crazy.
And and my family still lives there. So I mean, it's wow.
We're all learning a lot about
what do you
this.
do with that? What do you do with that? I mean, how do you? I mean, so I'll just tell you real quick. For me, first response is guilt. First response is I did something wrong, which is not true. I benefit from systemic racism because my skin color is in power in some passive way, some maybe active ways too. But the second was like the second response is action, because nobody wants my guilt, nobody wants my tears. I don't think. At least almost every Black person I've talked to is like, I don't care. Like you being sad doesn't help anything. But I am curious about what that experience is like for you to walk into that and see that and like, I didn't know, and what do you do with that?
Yeah, I can probably say the most vivid experience for me was Rodney King. So
Sure.
You might not even know. I mean, you're old enough maybe, but that's so long ago now.
I was a kid.
But I was blown away that happens. That was happening. It was filmed. Nobody went and shot those police people. There's a bunch of them in that case and everything. I mean, what could you do? And they weren't arrested. I mean, they weren't indicted or whatever initially. And then the riots happened and everything. And so my first reaction is, again, confusion. It's like, how can this be? Like, really?
Yeah.
But then it does happen, and I watched my son really be affected by Trayvon Martin's murder, and it looks like my son is the age of my son. So those things weren't that ever present to me. Again, I'm in England for one thing. I'm in San Antonio, and I'm not really paying attention. My parents didn't raise us that way to be aware. In fact, to survive in the deep south of Mississippi, they almost had to be where they're supposed to be, do what you're supposed to do, don't quit. So that's a survival technique, strategy that made a lot of sense. But for me and my sister, we didn't get empowered with things that we needed to know. And so when that happens, I am just blown away. But then I did too have the same reaction that my son has, like, oh wow, what does that mean for me? If they can just beat a man, dirty dog in the street, like, what is my life like? Now, I won't dwell there for long. Again, I have too much work to do and too many projects or something. And so that it will get in my psyche. And then, especially over the last, 10 years with video cameras, that was a big invention that has massively helped, video cameras on buildings and on cell phones or whatever, just to see the atrocities and how much there is, because it's not in the history books. And if you weren't raised that way, you don't know, you're not sensitized to it. And I just happen to not be also sensitized to it. Now you can't not be sensitized. And then I'm now recognizing, is that why I don't have a job again? And is that
Mm.
why in court
Mm.
this happened to me? He's like, wait a minute. And so it hurts. It's the same as I've got my 3 friends there, and one's telling a really horrible joke, one's laughing, the other one's looking like, that ain't really cool, but it was funny, and they don't stop it. They're like, hey, let's not, nobody, and it still is like that, in 2021, even though it's somebody else that got shot or killed or whatever, and it's not me, but I still have that same feeling. I was like, won't somebody fix this or do something? It hurts. It hurts me. It hurts us. It hurts everyone. It's stupid. And so I don't own that. That's not that's some idiots over there that need to be, put in prison. And it's turning. It's happening. And so luckily my 100 years on this planet, or 50 or how many, I'm already 62. So I got 62. Maybe if I make it to my birthday, 63, I'm in a window where there was a black president, and you can marry out, interracially, and so it is what it is. So I've been black all my life. It's better now than it was before. Ideally, it'll be better for my son, but he's more aware. He's more woke. He's paying attention more, and I was able to skirt through it, and but it does hurt. So just to answer the question.
I'm curious, how old were you when Rodney King happened, Dad?
Somebody can Google that quickly. That's a good question.
I was like 11 or 12, I think. So 30 years ago?
I cannot, let me think where, I remember where I was. I can remember where I was. I was working at Mobile. I was off the ship. And I will tell you, the reaction to it in the workplace too was offensive to me.
Wow.
That nobody really gave a damn care, the white people that I work with, such that when the OJ verdict came down, I exempted myself. I intentionally got in my car and drove somewhere because they said, the verdict's going to be announced at such and such time, and it was during the workday. And so I drove somewhere. I don't want to be around some of these people. I don't think when there's cheering or crying or laughter, it's like, I have to work with this because that stuff can hurt, how come the rules can't work equally? If you get acquitted, you got acquitted. If you got over, white privilege has been working for a lot of people. Yeah. If you have good lawyers and you can get off, well, he got off, and just be okay with it. And it was offensive.
Wow.
And I don't know how many other people get away with stuff that they shouldn't have gotten away with, and it's not, it's not a race issue. And it was made into a race issue that OJ wasn't convicted, It was,
and it was you see the teams, you see the sides, black people cheering, white people upset, and that's wild to think about, because really what that came down to was money privilege and access privilege, and it didn't have anything to do with race, fame, all those things, and it is wild to see how quickly we adopt the racial teams when it's not even a situation that it should be adopted.
I'll interrupt. The black cheers were that a rich black man can get away with murder because it's not, he can't also still be found guilty. It wasn't made, we can, if you have enough fame and money,
you can get out.
You're black, So it's not, it wasn't a black thing. It was fame and money. I agree with you. But
that's the only solution.
Could have been, but you're black and you're still going to jail.
That's true. Yeah, I get you. Yeah, 100%. That would be heavy to see OJ get that, and then what it says is there's no way out. No matter what you do.
Yeah, I currently have a lawsuit pending in the Texas Supreme Court, and it is literally that exact sort of deal. And it is well briefed, it's well written, and it's basically, does this system work for black people? Because it's such a blatant travesty, and it is incredulously wrong. And if it goes down that it's not reversed, well, this just okay. You could have just said, "Oh, you're black," throw it
Yeah.
out. Like that's basically what it is. And so that OJ thing was, yeah, okay. He beat it.
Mm.
The glove didn't fit, and he had the dream team, and Furman was a racist, pig, and this was planted. Like, no, you win those, and so
Mm.
so anyways, I interrupted you, Chris. Sorry. You were
Well, no, what the original thing I was thinking was the age at which the Rodney King thing happened. You were in your 30s,
yeah,
right?
I think so.
And so for me, Trayvon happened. I was young 20s, and I was at the time, still trying to figure out who I was, what I was, all those kind of things, questioning my labels. And the Trayvon Martin that murder shifted who I was in so many ways, to where I was afraid that, man, this kid is not much different from me at all. I mean, I'm wearing a hoodie I wear a hoodie on every podcast episode,
Yeah.
like, and so walking around with a hoodie on, drinking Arizona watermelon drink, it's not juice, but like that is my everyday. I used to go to the little FM Mart by your house, pick up those same things. It wasn't Skittles. I chose gummy bears. Like, that's the difference.
Right.
And I would walk home, and to get home, I would go through an alleyway. I would go under a like a
Fence.
water
I go into
subline
the
fence.
fence. Mhm.
Yeah, and so there's so much of that could be deemed suspicious, that could be deemed criminal. Like, why is this kid cutting under through this apartments into this nice neighborhood? It's like, well, he lives there, but I have a hoodie on and I have these things in my hand, and so it was nearly impossible to say that Trayvon wasn't me. Like, that kid was me in every way possible from the way I interpreted it, and so hearing his murder, I mean, George Zimmerman still signs Skittles as memorabilia to this day. And so just to have that experience and live it, it's like, there's a problem in this country, and I can't afford to try and live with it. I have to stop it. I have to figure out a way to do whatever I can to improve it. And that removed my locus of control. It became such a big thing, and that was difficult as well. But there was no other way to see reality because of how that felt. And it's interesting being where I am now, because I was raised by you, who was raised by grandpa, and I know what it's like to just walk through this world, not oblivious, but just not truly caring about race and not truly caring about all those microaggressions and labels. And I'm one of those people. I've been called not black millions of times, and that's part of the reality. But after the Trayvon Martin thing, I was so moved to have to do something, so moved to action. And so, like, to your point, Richie, I think the experience is the same regardless of your skin tone. These things hurt. For you, it felt
Yeah.
like guilt.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it felt like maybe more of a just not love, like unloved or left out, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's still that pain first,
Mm.
but it has to lead to action,
Yeah.
or even if not action, communication, which is your first step, right? That is what we've kind of learned to be the best thing, because at the grand scheme of things, there's always going to be bad people in this world.
Sure.
And if we want to change the whole system to get rid of everybody bad, then eventually, like we learned in the Gerald episode talking to conservatives, that means everyone becomes bad, because that's the only way for the system to work, is to label us all as bad. So it's like the action that needs to happen is us communicating, us talking, us growing and learning different groups. Like Dad,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really said this out loud, but I love that you said that. Is you got to learn black. If you want to be in those spaces and interact with black people, you have to learn, you have to accept, you have to trust, right? And it's the same with any group that you're in. If you want to be really a part of that group, you do have to learn it first. And so I'm just glad, Dad, that you put it that way, because sometimes we need it explicitly said, right? Because our emotions are telling us, what do we do? I don't know what to do in this space. And for you, Dad, you're like, you just got to go learn. So that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
And it goes the other way too. You can be black trying to operate in white spaces or Hispanic spaces. First try to get some understanding of where everybody is, and some knowledge. Just don't be flippant or oblivious or insensitive to everything. Do some level of inspection, and then go through some uncomfortableness. It was uncomfortable for me. It
Wow.
was very uncomfortable, and just tough it out. I mean, I've been in white groups that don't let black people in there, and I'm as oblivious and uncaring, but I want to be in this group and I belong and I'm at the level to be in this group, and so I just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. But it was uncomfortable when nobody would speak to you in the happy hour and the social hour, and literally people are standing in a little huddle and you walk up with your cocktail like everybody else, and you come up and you stand there and nobody ever acknowledges that you're even standing there. They don't eye contact. They don't break the conversation to let you in or welcome or shake your hand, or worse. I mean, I literally got to a point where I would watch feet, and you see the circle slowly edge and close in. And how did I end up behind everybody? I was standing shoulders, and I'm watching their feet. And they're a little shuffling. They turn and then turn back, and their feet moved a little. And that one turned, and pretty soon the circle closed in on me. Or you walk up. Oh yeah, hey man, and they all disband. Like,
yeah,
walk in this other group, and they all leave, and everybody, somebody in the corner laughing.
Interesting.
And you just keep coming. You just keep going. Well, guess what? That happened to me in the black community too. I started going there, and nobody talked to me. They didn't know how to take me. I didn't speak the same way. I lived in a different neighborhood, so you just kind of tough it out. It's like, no, I'm okay. I still love me. I didn't do anything to you. You actually didn't do anything. You're stupid. You don't know how much I can help you. You'll figure out something, because you don't know how to say, you play games with it, and so you just kind of push through it. And then pretty soon, you're telling jokes and laughing and, dating each other and all that kind of stuff. So, you can get there, but it was a major journey.
Well, something that I heard there is, like, I've been in white spaces my whole life, but I don't know how much learning I was doing about white spaces. Like, I had my own perception of my interactions in white spaces, but through this podcast and through having uncomfortable learning situations, I have a different knowledge about white spaces when it comes to individualism and when it comes to just the way some of the language and words are used. And what I found is, once I speak with that language, some of those circles open back, like ones that what I once would have been closed out of now are like, oh, you are in this space. You do speak the language, right? Same black, white, other. Once you adopt the culture, you are let in. And I think there are racists, guaranteed, right? But there are a lot of people who just know that you don't fit in, and so they treat you accordingly. And I think it would behoove us to just spend that time of learning the different groups and see if you still get kicked out once you're speaking their language. Because I've been in some conservative circles where I'm like having full conversations with people, learning from them and sharing. And a year ago, I would assume those people are racist and they don't like me and they wouldn't even let me have this conversation in the first place. And I learned that wasn't true in a lot of cases as well. So just learning, if there's something for our allies to take away, learning spaces that you might be uncomfortable in is super beneficial. Just deep dive, get to know what they actually are saying, maybe drop your guard, completely drop your guard, and just trust. And so I just find it interesting that you've done all these things. We don't talk like this too often. One, because our family doesn't, we're not label centric. That's just not what we are. But it was cool to hear all of these lessons you have that you don't really preach because you don't, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I would say I, as a parent, a father, didn't do the best job of preaching these things into you and telling you these things. I lived them. And, even I would disagree with you a little bit of what you said of learning people's labels and how to interact. I agree with what I said earlier of learning something about it. But again, I'm not going to go too far with that. I would more opt on winning people over with your performance, so join the committee, help on the project, go to the event and pass out the food, and they can't dispute that.
Yeah.
Forget how somebody thought, and but well, he wasn't. He's the only one that did come to every event, and nobody would. He drove and got the stuff, and he didn't even ask for reimbursement. Like, one, I don't care. It's not about and so I would more opt on overwhelming with your completions and your successes and your work product and your deflecting or ignorance of the micro. Don't do that. Instead, serve on the committee, help, give something to somebody, go help the person. I mean, there's Hispanics that are left out, there are Asians left out, and you go talk to them and bring them. The people disband from your circle, well, go over with the Hispanics and the Mexicans. They're stuck out too. Well, go hang out with them. Nobody wants to go talk to them either. Well, you go talk to them. I mean, they might not want to talk to you, but okay. Just don't get stuck and trying to figure out how to out finesse or thinking what they're thinking. Again, I don't try to do that. I'm listening to what the speaker said. We need volunteers for X, or we're trying to make this happen, and that night I'll go and turn it in. Like, oh, this is great. Do you want to serve on the board? And you're the only black person on the board. Now they have black people on the board. The more black people join because there's a black person on the board. Like, wow, this is a progressive organization. Well, not really. I just got they didn't know what they were doing when they put me on. They just thought I was milk toast. And no, I got some fire in me, and I'll stand my ground. I have my opinion. And they just thought, he's easy, or he's cool, or he's unenlightened, or he's not radical racist, whatever. No, that's not. I mean, no, I try to hang on right. And if you are discriminating against anybody, I'm gonna speak out. So you misread me. That just because I get along with white people, I'm not okay with telling those jokes. That ain't cool.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know where I went on that. I went around in a circle.
That's great. I think. It's that the being undeniably, excellent at what you do. And that's a lesson for everybody. That's incredible.
So I do remember a friend of mine. She, a lady I had dated. This is before your mother again. Too. Gotta remember all this. And she's a donor or patron but actually she knows this lady because I think it was before and after. After we were divorced. But she said to me once, says, Peter, you can do the math. You can do the project. You can work the long hours. You can do the thing. Not everybody can. Me, right. I have to watch the people. Like, for instance, my boss, I can figure out when he had a good time with his wife, or which day and which time to go in and ask for XYZ, because some days he's more agreeable, and that's how I get what I need done. You will do the project plan and the build the thing and walk in with that. And so, it'll be right, or it'll be proven, or it will show the cost benefit analysis. Well, everybody can't do that.
Correct.
Yeah. So we work on, let me think about what he's thinking, and let me think what his label is, and so, like I said, it's a gift and a curse, because that is important, knowing, speak their language and love languages, and getting to yes, and I don't do all of those things the best way, and I will bruise some people unknowingly. I didn't know I hurt you by not recognizing you were microaggressing me, and I didn't. What are you supposed to do when you get microaggressed? Is there a major micro? You're supposed to be majorly defensive. Majorly.
You're trying to get opposite.
What are you supposed to be when somebody microaggresses you? Microaggress them back? I didn't do it.
Assertive. Assertive. I think assertive is the best way to handle it.
I didn't know you did it. Now they're mad at me. It's just like when someone's trying to pick a fight and you don't fight back. They get mad at you. Like, I didn't know I was supposed to fight you.
That's true. Yeah, that works as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I was, you want to box, and I thought we were playing tiddlywinks or chess or something. I didn't know we were doing that. I thought we were swimming. I thought we were doing something. We're building something together. What do you mean boxing?
Yeah.
For sure.
So I can't tell yet if you are like, yeah, we're not going to publish this one. Chris, it was good hanging out with your dad and everything. You probably need to check that out. But this guy is, I don't know what to do.
No, I think it's great, and I'm really glad you're sorry to interrupt, but I am really glad that you're here, and I think that you dropped several things tonight that apply to me, and I think apply to all of our listeners. And one of those things is going into groups that you don't know anything about, learn, and don't be flippant. Not only communicate when to try to find out what's going on or what they're thinking, but also like action's important, and being excellent, and I mean, there's just so many things that and don't carry the baggage. I mean, that's huge, Mr. Beasley, and I appreciate that. I know I personally need to hear that. So I'm just so glad you came to the show.
Yeah, don't expect the worst out of people too. I think we do that a lot. We know they're gonna this. We know what they are, and they could have a bad day. It could just be they misspoke, or that's not truly how they are, or they're so much better than how they used to be. And that was just, they're on this journey of getting out of that cesspool where they were raised. They were raised somewhere. They didn't just be, an idiot. They were raised by idiots. So you start out as an idiot, but they're learning like, I need to get better. And then you bump into them that day where they're, they weren't on their best behavior, but they're doing better. Give them a pass that day. Give some people some pass. Don't assume it's like, just let it go. You got better things to do yourself than, in every case. I'm not, I don't know who I was telling today. It was today that when Chris was in junior high, I think it was, some principal wanted to, say Chris hit a teacher and it was a crime. We need to call the police, and this principal was going to make a big damn deal out of it, and I'm like, no. But my ex-wife, his mother, she was livid.
She said, hell no.
Hell no. You are not going to label my black son with this and put this on his record and stuff. And I'm like, whoa. And she was so right, because that does happen. It happens to us at, younger ages, black men and boys especially. And again, black women owning that they're at the bottom of the barrel because they've been put there. Stuff has been put in their head that makes you think that way. And so it's not untrue, from a perception, but don't you own that. And just because somebody did something doesn't mean that that's what they thought that is. Now, if you watch them over time, okay.
Okay.
But don't just walk in the room and assume that, it's going to be that. But I would also say I'm kind of coming from the other perspective. I'm learning to pay more attention. I'm coming from an extreme case of naivety, and it has hurt me. It's hurt me of not managing my race or blackness or my stature or the color of my skin, the darkness of my skin, to the bass in my voice. I don't even think about that stuff. The project's right, and here's the plan, and what else are we gonna do? Nobody else did the work. Literally, no one else did anything. Mine should be fine. Well, how are you picking it apart? There's nobody else did anything else. There is no other option. But and I can just sit there. We're gonna end up using mine, and you're gonna that was stupid, and not realizing. Okay, let me be a little more artful in how I present this and exempt out of some of that crapola stupid stuff, because some people just can't accept a black man having a quantifiable, deliverable, whatever. I mean, it's true. And it can be a woman. It can be a lot of different paradigms that just cannot be accepted. In venture funding, I found the 3 partners that I'm presenting in, the 4 venture partners, and they started getting younger. There'd be the college whiz kids that were, there too, but there'd be the older guy. I would overlook the namesake of the venture firm. He's there, and he's got his other proteges or people coming up, and they're like, "Oh, this is great. A CMDB? Oh, great. Oh, you've got patents? Customers? Oh, you have revenue. Oh." The other guy is like, just stuck on slide 1. I'm on slide 7. And he's still, and I'm thinking he's an idiot. Like, who's that guy? They need to retire him. He's the owner. The money is his.
Yeah.
He cannot fathom, and something is just not. He doesn't see black men coming with a product company talking about a CMDB competing with IBM's Computer Associates and BMC. It's like, what? It's like, am I missing something? I get it now. I didn't get it. And I would just like ignore them. And because the other people are doing all this great stuff and asking me questions, and he's on slide 1, and then we get done. He says, "So what do you do again?" I'm like, what? And then I get the letter of, we're going to pass. And then I learned that on slide 3, like, "Bob, can I help you? We're on slide 3. You're still looking stupid. I can't call you that, but I learned to, he can't figure it out either. He is confused as hell. He's like, I don't know.
And well, I think it's also important to highlight, for our listeners, there's stories very similar to this, like The Banker, which is out on Apple TV, which is a story about The Banker is a story about black guys who had to get a white guy to be their face so that they could buy real estate. And it was very interesting that, that was the reality they had to operate in. But that was, in the 70s and in the 80s. But here you are, Dad, having to do the same exact thing, right? What could you imagine if you went into that venture funding and you had Michael Gordon as the face of the company? If you had a white peer fake it and be your, how do you think those same interactions would have gone?
I would have got funded without a doubt. But when you say you described the banker or the real estate people that they had to get a white face, that was a choice. They did not have to. That was told to me. Why don't you get some white salespeople? Why don't you get a white CEO? I'm not doing that. I refuse to discriminate against myself and other black people who might want to be my salesperson, just because you think that that's how, that's probably true. I could have made a lot more money that way. I just refuse to do that. I'm not gonna. That's discriminating against myself.
Yeah,
Perpetuating that myth, and so because of me, at B.U.I.L.T, we had the CISO, Chief Information Security Officer of Dallas County, speak 3 times and just recently, and he's black. I met him at Metro PCS. They bought my CMDB product. So there I am coming back and forth over time. And so this was 06, 07, 08. Metro PCS was my customer. And so here he is 20 years later. He is the Chief Information Security Officer of Dallas County. And he's speaking to B.U.I.L.T and our audience. He says, "Peter, you might not know it, but I had never seen a black man show up who owns the software company with an enterprise software product
Come on.
You drove a 7 Series BMW. You're like, whatever, it was just a car." He says, "No, you don't know how much me and Terry Houston and all of us talked about you. You were that." I'm like, I didn't see it that way. So again, if I had a white CEO that walked in, Michael, I'm not going to go as far as he might not be the Chief Information Security Officer. It's just like, we need to stop that. If you ask me, if that's what someone chooses to do, that's their choice, and I can't, run their life. I'm not going to tell them, this or that. But I personally chose not to do that. I was presented to me.
Yeah.
So nah, I'm gonna do that. And so I try to hire some people even to be the CEO of my company, and some happen to be white, and we didn't mesh. I didn't get to hire them, and
Right.
so I wasn't opposed to it, but I wasn't going to absolutely do it just because I can't be that face. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I respect that for sure.
Wow. Well, we've been talking a bit, but yeah, I don't want to keep you too long. This has been great. This has been great, and we'd love to have you back. And I want to talk more about Chris and what it was like.
Oh no!
Here's some stories. We didn't get any Chris stories.
Yeah.
So, no, but
I think this was I think this was a phenomenal conversation, Dad. I think one thing it did help me, see how you have maneuvered these things and the choices you have made. And I think our listeners have been delighted by this conversation for sure. I mean, Richie's definitely taken so much away from this. And so thank you, Dad, for that. That's been amazing conversation.
Well, they say, stuff's on the internet is going to be there forever. So I hope it went well. And I would like to, hang out with you all some more. And it's good getting to know you, Richie.
Yeah, you
and,
too.
I'd like to understand a little bit more about you and, the title Imperfect Allies, and Chris talked about how you happen to meet and everything. And you are both quite different. And I think that's way cool, and it says a lot about society and you both as men and individuals. And yeah, I'd like to learn and get to know you better too. I do know Chris pretty well, but he amazes me. He's a good young man. He is an excellent human being and a man and a husband, and hopefully he's going to take care of his old man when I'm, can't move around and need to pull up my diapers.
Oh,
I did that with my dad, and that's what it was like. Oh,
all right,
pull him up.
Okay, well, we need you here a lot longer, so I don't have to do that. So keep rocking with us. But we're so thankful for this conversation. I hope our listeners, I hope you enjoyed this as well. Patreon subscribers, you got to watch this live. This has been such a great conversation. You can join us in the conversation on Allies Imperfect, on Twitter, on Instagram. You can also become a patron yourself and really, really grow, because what we're trying to do is we want to have vulnerable, open, authentic conversation with people of different walks of life and marginalized groups. And you can help that be the norm of America. Let's do this, Imperfect Allies. Let's grow. So thank you all so much. We end every show with a peace. So peace.
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 There we go.
All right.
We got it.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.